My mom didn't have both parents. My dad didn't have both parents. So understanding what they came through, the things they had to fight through, so they can be here for me and my siblings, speaks a lot to how you can change the narrative.
The people that I've grown up around, like we know that that's not the way that you are supposed to. That's not how you're supposed to treat people. Period. You know.
Very unfortunate that you think because somebody's suffering that they're black. How, at what point, when something is ingrained in you so much, do you believe that somebody can finally realize that it's wrong?
The people that I've grown up around, like we know that that's not the way that you are supposed to. That's not how you're supposed to treat people. Period. You know.
My mom didn't have both parents. My dad didn't have both parents. So understanding what they came through, the things they had to fight through, so they can be here for me and my siblings, speaks a lot to how you can change the narrative.
I'm saying a lot of things about becoming an adult. In my experience, just as important that learning is, unlearning is just as important.
So, there's two things that I want to talk about quickly off of this. Morgan Freeman's hometown and my dad's hometown. So, just real briefly, and I know a lot of this shook me in 2008.
So you mean 12 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Morgan Freeman paid for his hometown to have the first integrated prom.
In 2008.
He paid, like he had to basically like throw money at these people to have an integrated prom. And I haven't seen the whole documentary, but it just talks about like you interview like I vividly remember a white girl and a black no, it was a white girl and a black girl they interviewed separately, of course. And their thought process was the brainwash thing. Oh well, that's the way it's always been. So I go to school with you every day, but when we go to prom,
you go that way.
You go this way, I go that way. In 2008, not 1978, not 1968.
2008.
We got iPhones, we got all type of stuff going on, and we got a segregated prom.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman had to come back and pay for it. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken,
$250,000, something like that.
He's tried to do it several times, and they declined it. Both sides. Nobody, and I mean, ultimately, like I didn't do a whole bunch, but I don't know what was the turning point, but I'm just glad that it happened. Now, I talked about the lapses. My dad's from Carthage, Texas. It's like
Football.
yeah,
You.
yes,
Yes, sir.
He's like 25 minutes away from Shreveport, the Texas border. So, my dad was born in 1958. Okay. So I got Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, that calls for, illegal, whatever, calls for integrated schools. 1958. My dad did not go, so it's my dad who is, I guess, in 58. He went to school for the first time with integration in 6th grade. You're 11 years old in 6th grade. So that means 15 years after the fact, Supreme Court basically calls it illegal for it to be segregated. This is what happened. So that means he's 11, my aunt is 13, and my uncle is 15. So 6th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade. Now, the interesting thing about my dad, I guess the thing, well, not so interesting, the thing, I guess that kind of, why it wasn't that big of a deal for him, my grandfather was a really influential person in Carthage as a black man. He was the first black person to own a gas station. He was a principal, all those different type of things. So my aunt, who was younger than my dad, the integration wasn't that big of a deal for her because she said she was one of the few, like she had like, you know, they had play dates back then.
Yeah.
So she had white friends. My grandpa, I don't know if they were genuinely friends, but you know, they were coming to their house and letting them play and things of that nature. So they were used to it. But Michael, what about you that lived on the other side of Carthage that had never experienced that?
Crazy.
Now, I expect, you know, I don't know if there were fights and stuff, I'm sure there were. I expect that to happen in 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Now, we get to 69, and we basically have to come and make it. Longview's right up the street. When I was doing some research before today, 1970, they had to make them integrate.
Integrate, yep. Same thing with Viber.
Like, this is a choice.
And the thing about it is, this is just in the foreseeable past.
Yep.
This is not 50, 60 years ago. Okay, to put this in perspective, my dad's what, 62?
Yep.
That's not that long ago, man.
It's not.
Right.
It's not.
Like, it's really not.
It really isn't. Because if you ask any older person and ask you how old you are, and you say 27, oh, you still young.
Yeah. Right. That's real young.
Oh, you still young.
Right.
Okay.
That's just walking the face of this earth.
Right.
Not experiencing this.
Come on, man.
So,
Come on, man.
I can't, it just, that always, like just always stood out to me just thinking about, because I mean, I knew that integration didn't happen right away, and of course I knew realistically that's not going to happen. But, okay, and this, I'll say this and then, you know, let somebody else talk. My mom was born in 60. Now, she grew up in Oak Cliff, but in a city, it was already integrated. So there were white kids that went to South Oak Cliff. I guarantee you there are no white kids at South Oak Cliff now. There were white kids that went to Skyline. There's no white kids at Skyline. There were white kids that went to Roosevelt, Maceo Smith. All these schools I'm naming, in the same time period that my dad is in East Texas, and he's still got to separate, you know. So now you think about, and just going, how that might have affected jobs. So now, you know, okay, we got integrated schools. What happened to the black school?
That part.
Because I would probably bet that the teachers that were teaching at Carthage High School, they didn't lose no jobs. And some of them probably just left. Matter of fact, I know they left upon integration. But yeah, man, like just thinking about VITA, which is more recent, or should I say, Morgan Freeman in 2008, and then 50 years ago, or 45 to 50 years ago.
Still not long ago.
And then the crazy thing is, like, with towns like Vider in the history of, you know, the KKK, you know, kind of running off African Americans from that city and things of that nature. And we're talking about the timing of everything, right? Not being so long ago. We are in the year 2020, right? 2020, lynching as a federal crime was just now put in place in 2020. Since the year 1900, the Senate and the House have been trying to make lynching, or not trying to make, but debating, arguing over if lynching should be seen as a federal crime since the year 1900. 120 years. Now, from 1900 to where we are now, we had Martin Luther King, the end all be all of racism.
The savior.
Which he did but you see what I'm saying? Like, he did what he was supposed to do. He man, his influence that he left and the impact and everything, but it's always taught to us that was the end of slavery and racism. You know what I'm saying? End of slavery, Abraham Lincoln. The end of racism, MLK. Okay, so if racism dies with MLK, and the last racist person to ever exist was the person that killed him, why are we in 2020 and lynching is just now being made a federal crime? That is bananas to me.
Let alone
Bananas to me.
Why is that even in our vocabulary?
That's absurd.
Like,
That's absurd to me. Like, why is that even thought of?
right,
Right, just go hang. Like, come on, man. Like,
so okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So put it that way. Let's put it. I think it's safe to say, if that's the conversation we're having now, there are people that have been lynched, and we just haven't been like we haven't,
Oh,
we haven't been documented
100%.
easily. No, you can't tell me any different.
100%.
In the past, we talking about my dad's situation. I'm gonna argue the past 15 to 20 years, there have been several people
100%.
lynched.
Come on, man.
Because put it this way, that's got to be it. Or why would it just now be coming as a
Federal crime.
It's got to be going on.
And people will argue that like, oh well, each state can sit. It's not about state. No, bro. No, we need to live in a land that we talk about unity. That should not be left up to the states. I don't care if all 50 states see it. I don't care. I don't. It need at the federal. No, this is America. This is what we stand on. And now, granted, it really pains me to say this. I get it. Better late than never. Okay, 2020? 2020? So we're all 27, 26, 27, 28, right? So we lived 28 years of lynching was not a federal crime. That's crazy to me.
So 3 decades.
And like so many people think like racism is just so far off, like we say, which even brings me to this next one, because people that see this are going to connect with us. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like to even further get that connection, I want to ask you all, and like I said, it's 8:20. I know you gotta.
Yeah, we good. That's right.
All right. I want to know your personal experience with racism, or your story, or something personal that hit home with you with racism.
For me, I can't really say that I've had a personal experience with racism. I mean, I can't think back to a time where, at least towards me, I've never felt any type of racism towards me ever. I've never experienced racism towards another person just because the people that I've grown up around, like we know that that's not the way that you are supposed to. That's not how you're supposed to treat people. Period.
Is that because of sports as well, though?
Well, sports.
I was just about to say that. Sports is the bridge.
Right.
It's a huge bridge.
Tyler Ralph said one thing. It's a famous, well-known, nationally, internationally white trainer. He was like, I didn't really experience racism because when you can hoop,
You win.
Or against any, you accept it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, need to cut you off. But
No, you're good.
That's.
I mean, that's really the basis of it, and that's a good example of how that's not how you're taught to teach people.
But even
or
like
to treat people. Yeah.
You talk about sports and everything, and I get it. But your situation is, I don't even want to say different or unique, because I know a lot of people are raised this way. But nobody can ever convince me that racism is not taught. Racism is taught.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You teach your child to accept others and their differences or not to.
Absolutely.
Like that's taught. And the way you were raised to see everybody as everybody. And to definitely, going to school with you, but even more so going to war with you and trying to win over, the hearts and souls of these kids and, get them going. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I believe you. Like that's not like shocking, like, oh, never. But that's your experience. That's your truth. Like,
And that's not to say that, once again, everybody's experience is different. I can't say that I know somebody close to me or anything like that just has that train of thought, but that's not to say that it's not out there. You can't discount that it's not out there.
And so the crazy thing that I'm going to like even, encourage is for like how you called me the other day and we talked for like 2 hours.
Mhm.
Had a great conversation. You know, if you haven't experienced it, because I'm telling you, it's human nature. We don't grasp things until they hit home to us.
Yeah.
So for me, ask those specific questions and like ask a friend or somebody that you trust or whatever. Hey, like, what's been your personal experience with this? Like, can you let me in on that? And it's not even like again, it's about gaining that understanding, because when it almost becomes a hashtag word, racism. It's like, oh, okay, we come numb to it. But unless you actually hear and know what some people been through, that's all it'll be. It'll be like, okay, I know it exists, but yada yada yada. So that's what I encourage. You know, if somebody's watching this and they've never, you know what I'm saying, experienced, ask your close friends. They will tell you. They'll talk to you about it. They'll be excited that, hey, you really want to know? Okay, well, hey, let's have this talk. And but I definitely appreciate that part of it, because some people don't get that. There are people that literally have been raised in a way that, unless you live in it, racism really doesn't, like, it's not like you go out looking for it. Oh, let me go hunt down and look for racism. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us and you know, speaking on that.
Just listening, like just thinking about everything we talked about, and I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I haven't experienced racism, but I'm going to speak on a couple of things that occurred to me at my high school. I went to straight Jesuit. Great, I mean, you know, overall solid experience, not, you know, bashing the school or anything, but I did experience some things. One thing I can honestly say is, from my peers, I don't know if they were being racist or ignorant. I know that they kind of overlap.
Probably both.
Yeah. But I think a lot of it, I want to say, is ignorance. Well, the very first encounter I had at Straight was an open house. White golf coach. I was part of TJGC, Texas, all type of stuff, like in terms of golf stuff, like I guess equivalent to like AAU.
Yeah.
So I go, and it's like a line. I'm in line. And the coach just dismisses me. Somebody next to me, he start talking to him. So I'm kind of chill, you know. All right, you know, it is what's going on right there. Like, and I was a little more hot-headed, or I'd probably say more militant at that age. Because I would, you know, I definitely, I was about to say something. So, you know, then finally when I stepped up to him, he didn't even make eye contact with me and said, this is not beginner. You know, he said, football table's over there. Mind you, I've never played football a day in my life at this point. So I'm looking, I'm trying to find out really who he's talking to. I'm really turning around. And then when I said, no, I don't play football, well, this isn't beginner golf. It took a member of his team to come and speak to me and ask me, oh, you in junior PJ, you in this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. From that point forward, I never wanted to play for him. Okay, and I know for a fact it was because of the way that I looked or who I was that, you know,
Kind of like that,
that it wasn't like that. I just remember like little subtle comment, you know, I've been called the N-word on the golf course, different things of that nature. I know I never forget being in English class. And we were reading Dante.
Which is the subject you teach now, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Dante's Inferno. And it was, actually, I mean, I had my head down, I wouldn't sleep. And the kid we were reading in class, and it was like at a point where the people kind of in limbo, and they were talking about them suffering. And the kid said, oh man, they must have been black. And my teacher, she was probably a couple years younger than us. Oh, you better be glad Austin didn't hear that, blah, 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 blah. I said, no, I heard it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I said, it's very unfortunate that you think that, oh yeah, very unfortunate that you think because somebody's suffering that they're black. And I just honestly like it's so many different examples, but I like know it was just different ways I retaliated. I remember one kid said something. Well, I turned around and slapped him. Like I really, like real talk. Like I turned around and backhand.
Give it to him.
And my teacher was a white man. I was in physics, and I was taught because it was the same kid
Yeah.
that made this comment. And at that point, I was ready. It was whatever. You're gonna suspend me, expel me, detention me, whatever. I'm telling my mama whatever because at this point I don't care because I've been in this environment. I don't treat you like that. I accept you. Why can't you accept me?
Yeah.
I'm not a threat to you. You know, I've heard things about well, you're gonna get into school because of
To fill
what the quota.
Yeah, quota.
Dude, what? Like absolutely not. Like you know what I'm saying? Like no, like oh you probably get in your parents blah 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 like making the amount of money assuming because
you don't get this aid.
I'm on scholarship. Man, my parents combined probably made more than a lot of y'all. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But it's just those different types of things. And that's why I said I think of a lot of it was ignorance because these kids just hearing what their parents are saying and all that. Now, not to deviate, I know we're on the time, but just some food for thought, maybe somebody answer quickly. How, at what point, when something is ingrained in you so much, do you believe that somebody can finally realize that it's wrong? Like I know we talked about the people in Biden, but like I don't know if there's a specific age, but
Look, man, for me,
That's hard.
especially if you're not experiencing anything else.
So like, I'll just use personal experience and how I was raised, right? And my mom worked extremely hard. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother, same thing. However, even just now, my family is grasping the I guess the knowledge on finances,
Okay.
right?
Right.
The not living check to check, having enough money in the bank account for a rainy day, and a lot of that like nobody taught my mom that stuff. Nobody taught her that, and so but she could hustle. She knew how to work. She could hustle. She could work. She could pull man, look, I cannot make this up. She could pull a 24, 28-hour shift as a nurse, like facts. But even now, as me being an adult and having this, like you can research. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I think once you're able to make decisions for yourself, you determine what's right and wrong. Because there's things that I've been taught at a younger age that are great. And there's things that I don't necessarily agree with. And even now, since I had a disagreement with it, and even having talks with, my mom about certain things or whatever, she start like the light bulbs coming on in her head too. You know what I'm saying? Now she's talking about buying a property in California and doing this and doing. I'm like, whoa, like you trying. Wait, let me catch up.
Yeah.
Let me catch up. You balling. Let me catch up. I'm almost there. I ain't there yet. But I think like when you make decisions for yourself, you can do the research. You can have the conversation. And I'm not saying it's easy.
Right.
But I'm saying a lot of things about becoming an adult, in my experience, just as important that learning is, unlearning is just as important. It's a lot of stuff you got to unlearn too.
And Kate, now you say that unlearning might be more important than the learning. Say, man, that's tough. Yeah.
But Malcolm, I want to hear.
I don't know, man. Just kind of thinking about everything that we talked about, right? And we're everything that we're seeing, and I think that the ability for us, right, as educators, right, and I know what I'm talking, but you have like parents, and I'm telling kids not to listen to their parents, right? Right, but you have parents and they're ingraining something in their kids, right? But when we as educators can stand up. Like when I heard you say, you better be glad Kevin in here, or Austin didn't hear that.
That jumped out to me too.
Why didn't
Because why didn't
would
that
he get in
teacher-
trouble?
Why does it matter
That's exactly what stood out to me.
whether he heard it or not?
Bro.
Why are you not addressing the kid? Why is he not in trouble for some of the things that he said? Why is Austin in this point not protected?
Right.
Not that that kid don't matter,
Right. But talking now, you just good segue.
but why is he not protected at that moment? You know what I'm saying? I'll stand up for you.
Yeah. But
If
right,
you were to say something, I'll stand up for him too.
but right now.
But right now,
Yeah.
I can stand up for you. That's one thing. So and that's why I like the fact that we're in education, because no matter who it is, no matter what it is, you're not gonna pick on him.
Nope.
You're not gonna come this way in my class. You're not gonna say what you want to say because you think it's right. I need you to know certain things before you start speaking on it. Right? You're not gonna treat this person because they decide to do something a little different that may not be familiar in your household or in the way you carry yourself. So, in my experience, you know, I've lived in Frisco, man, and I've seen the good and bad sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
And not all my experiences have been bad. I've lived a blessed life, and both of my parents have influenced me in ways that I cannot sit here and name them all. But I'm extremely thankful.
Mm-hmm.
But for my family, my mom didn't have both parents. My dad didn't have both parents. So understanding what they came through, the things they had to fight through, so they can be here for me and my siblings, speaks a lot to how you can change the narrative.
Mm-hmm.